it is my pleasure now to bring Callee Boulware, who is the Regional Director for Reach Out and Read, and Sherri Watkins, who is the Program Manager there. Welcome to Win TV. How are you ladies doing?
Wonderful. Thanks for having us.
Thank you,
Great.
thank you, and thanks for your patience. Callee, that was my grandmother's name.
Oh, was it? That's
Yes,
great.
I'm
I
sorry,
love
I'm
that.
sorry, my great grandmother. It's my great
Oh, I love
grandmother.
that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. Thanks
So
for
anyway,
sharing that.
I love that name. But at any rate, let's stick to the subject of literacy. Tell us what Reach Out and Read is all about. What's the program about?
Yeah. Well, first, I just want to say on behalf of Sherri and myself, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. It's lovely to hear all of the other speakers and just to be here with you. So thanks for the opportunity. And Reach Out and Read is something that I love to talk about. So I'll try to make this relatively brief. But the mission of the Reach Out and Read program is really to help families and communities create meaningful moments spent together every day, snuggled up with books and stories. And we do this through the ongoing touch point of the pediatric well visit. So we work with all the medical homes where kids and the adults caring for them go in the early years of life. And those medical providers make Reach Out and Read a part of the way they sort of do standard health and wellness visits for children. And then what we're able to do is then send families home with the tools in their hand and the knowledge and the education to make books and stories a part of the way that they spend time together as a family, with the goal of making children and their families fall in love with those early moments of reading and stories.
Nice. That was used to be one of the favorite things for me, despite a horrible long day at work. Before my sons would go to bed, we would just sit down and read a book. And when I was too tired and they had read the story 25 times, they could read it back to me and put me to sleep.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Sherri, what is your role there?
Absolutely. So thank you for having us on. I'm great. I'm very appreciative and excited to be on. I serve as the program manager for Reach Out and Read. And so I oversee many of the clinics in DC. And I also have some clinics in Maryland and VA. And so what I get a chance to do is orientate sites. I also get a chance to be the technical assistant for sites. And I also get a chance to be a customer service for sites. So I'm kind of like the middleman in all of this. And so when you think about your community-based clinics such as Community of Hope, Mary Center, La Clinica, Georgetown, Unity, Children's, the list goes on, we're absolutely there. And so for me, I have 70 sites across the greater Washington, D.C. area, and my primary focus is in D.C. And so when you think about all of those sites, think about the 40,000 providers that we serve across the nation. Also think about the number of children we serve, 4.2 million children. Wow. And also think about the sites that we have across the nation, which is 6,100. So I don't do all of those, but I have 70.
Wow, that was about to
I have
say.
70.
You are a real superwoman.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh. So what are the tools? What do you use when you visit, when you connect with these sites? What are you leaving with them, or what are children and families taking from there? That helps.
Absolutely. So Sherri, I'll mention about the families, and I'll let you mention how you support the work on the back end. So, Reach Out and Read basically helps to make sure that our medical providers are trained to understand how to sort of have as a part of a standard well visit conversation with families, where they're checking on the baby's health and development and sort of the medical components that they may be looking at. They work into that conversation the important routine of building storytelling and snuggling up with a book or singing songs together, that shared language and that shared attention that families gain when they snuggle up with a story. They teach families why that's an important part of their daily routines with their children. So parents are receiving the education and the support from a strength-based place from their medical providers. And then we're also sending that family home with a new age and language and culturally appropriate book at every checkup. So when families go home together, they have sort of in their hands the tool that they need to implement that prescription to read. And this happens at every single checkup the kids have from birth to 5 years old. So that's approximately 15 times that we get to spend time with parents and families and sort of build those skills and those routines into their lives. And then Sherri does all the magic on the back end to help to support our medical teams and the clinic staff in doing that really well. So Sherri, I'll pass to you.
Absolutely. So then we've had providers to say, I will not practice without the Reach Out and Read program. So we are a model within the clinic. And so the prescription to read is a book. And I have like a book here. This is what caught my attention. And so this book, shout out to Kelsey, she's the author. When children are able to see themselves in the book, when they're able to see their community in the book, it does something. And that was an aha moment for me. I'm in Ward 7, I'm in Washington, D.C., and I get to serve the sites. And when the sites say our children leave with their book cuffed under their arm with so much pride because they're going home to read, parents are excited about these books. And when they get these books home, which is what we call the tool, they're able to skim the books and look at pictures. And the children are, the youngest babies are biting the books. And that's what we want to have happen, right? The exposure to books. The bonding happens at the medical home. The bonding happens at home when they take these books home. And for the children in DC who are living in underserved communities, it's hard to build libraries at home. It's very expensive. I know that. I have lived experience where we didn't have books in the home. It was just a decision between food, water, and shelter or books. And so we're going to choose food, water, and shelter because we're trying to survive, right? So what I love about this program is that we're putting our books in the hands of children at no cost. As long as they visit their medical provider, they have a book, right? And so I was introduced to this book by attending the Anacostia Coordinating Council meeting. And so when I saw this book, it gave me the aha moment. The whole concept behind it is awesome, right? But then that gave me a love for literacy. It gave me a love for prevention because a lot of my work in DC has been crisis intervention, working with great organizations like Community of Hope and Bright Beginnings. And now I get a chance to be on the side of prevention. So we can get in front of all of this from the time the baby comes out the womb, introduce the smallest human being to a book, give them exposure to the community, to people, to themselves, children of any color. That is what prevention looks like. And so I'm just overjoyed about this program, overjoyed about being here and being able to serve as a program manager. So what I'm giving you is what I give the sites. I kind of hype them up and get them excited about their program, because this is their program, about the model, and just make sure they're operating the program with fidelity.
So as I promised our other guests, because I think it's really, really important to just have an overall conversation with you all who are crusaders in this area of literacy, I want to bring on our other guests and just have a conversation as we close out this program about what are some of the things that we should be doing. We've got reading partners, so we know we ought to, we can volunteer in person or virtually to read with kids. Brittany, you're going to teach us how, word sounds and phonetics and all of that, the history. With all of this that you all have been doing, what is your, and anybody can answer this, your biggest frustration about, just really trying to, we're looking at numbers, as you talked about, Brittany. We know what's going on. We know literacy is still a challenge in our community. And what is the most frustrating part of this to try to get to see a difference? Or maybe are we seeing a difference?
Yeah.
Anybody want to answer? Callie?
Brittany, do you want to jump in first?
Sure. Thank you, Callie. I think it's a great question. So from my work being in the schools, and I get a chance to not only teach students, but I also do training and professional development with adults. I think, and let me just add that I work with middle school and high school. So I don't get to do the early intervention. Now they've been in school this long and they've developed these difficulties that have them reading at least 2 grade levels below or more. And so my biggest frustration is that by the time our students get to middle school and high school, the focus is really, as Shukarat said, it's not learning to read, right? The expectation is they already know how to learn to read. So my frustration is that teachers are really focusing on them developing their content knowledge through literacy. So they're reading to learn things, and they don't necessarily have the background to provide supports and interventions in the classroom. And that's what Etymology Rules is designed to do, to be able to teach teachers this information so they can do this work as well.
Shakur or Callie, or you want to weigh in on that?
Sure. I think for me and for us at Reading Partners, Frustration is probably a different word. I just think it's, again, where we are. We know this, right? COVID didn't just
Yep.
come to shine a light or just create conditions where inequity exists, where opportunity gaps exist. This isn't new information.
Right.
Systemic racism and oppression created these issues, and so what we have the opportunity to do across the country, especially here in DC, is to leverage the resources that are available to us right now to really get in there and support young people, support the incredible work that our teachers and school leaders are doing to set students up for success, and engage as a community, put our hands together to work with our young people. I think a lot about when there's great national tragedy or local tragedy, you see this increase in like this coming together, this joining hands. This is the moment. And so for anyone who's out there who's frustrated by the numbers or who just feels like they need to do something, dig in. Schools need you. My colleagues in the space programs need you. We need you. We need about 1,400 people. Sign up. Right? We will help you. We will give you what you need. But more importantly, the young people need us. They need another caring adult as a part of their network to encourage them to be the very best that they can be. So we don't see frustration. We see opportunity, and we encourage people to dig in.
I'm glad you changed that word for me, because I didn't want to use it, but I mean, that my laziness there, I just use frustration. But Callee and Sherri, I want to ask you, because you mentioned taking a child leaving a medical visit with a book on their arm with an adult who may not be able to read themselves.
That's exactly right. I just want to say yes, +1 to all of the things that have been said here. We are in full support of all of that. And to Sherri's earlier point, what we really want to do is be as much on the front end of that as possible. And we know that 80% of a child's brain is formed by 36 months old. We don't have time to wait until, as Brittany stated, we're seeing deficits in school already. We really have to get to children and get to the adults in their lives and to their parents and their caregivers as early as possible, and do that skill building around sharing language and that shared passion and love for what reading is, which is the foundation of what we know will be eventual school success. And what we in Reach Out and Read and our evidence-based model teach our clinicians to do to support families who may have barriers with adult literacy themselves is that at these very early years, it's not so much about the words on the page as it is about you sharing language and feeding that baby's brains, feeding that baby's brain and their emotional, development with your words. And what I love, one of my favorite things about Reach Out and Read, and I've been doing this for a lot of years, and this keeps me passionate every day, is that our clinicians are letting families know that you, just as you are the most important person in your child's life. They need you. They need your attention. They need your words. They need your eye contact. And a lot of things we do unintentionally tell families the deficits that they may have or the things that they need to get better at. But we're telling families, just as you are, you be you with your child. Read with them if you're able. Talk about the pictures. Make up a story. Tell them a story about you, your family. It's less important about the actual words on the page at these very young years, and more important about the sharing of language and the bonding and the love that comes along with that. So we really can meet families wherever they are and help them to be successful on that journey.
Sherri, did
from
you
the
want to
earliest
jump?
days. Absolutely. Everything Callee said, and the sites that want to be high quality, I encourage sites, hey, if there are any adult literacy programs nearby you, let families know about that. Post it on your bulletin board. Make a community resource folder, right? Because we certainly don't want to leave the adults out of the equation, because the adults are people who take care of our little humans. So we're talking about that as we do site visits. So the last thing I'll add to this is that we really, really, really want to see families have libraries in their homes. I read something somewhere before that said, even if you don't touch the book on the shelf, the mere point of having the book in the home makes a big impact. So that is what I'm over here passionate about every day, about books, about literacy, and about what we do here at Reach Out and Read, getting in front of our babies and families early.
Yeah, I think about so many other things that we're dealing with in our community, and one of the issues folks keep talking about is stigma, and how can we take the stigma away from for those who are having literacy issues, and make them feel as though there is a solution. There are places where they can go to learn, and that it's the community supports that. I mean, so I don't know if anybody wants to talk about how stigma just even impacts kids or children. You know, they get to like you said, 4th or 5th grade, and they still can't read, and so how that affects them and everything else that happens in the academic setting. You know, things happen, right? Shakura, can you talk about what happens when, kids just don't feel as though they measure up?
Sure. So before I joined Reading Partners, my first real job was a teacher in Prince George's County, actually. And so I know all about the stigma of reading and, the whole idea of, is it cool to read? Or if I can't read, will my friends tease me? I think there are two approaches that we need to consider. First and foremost, in many ways, I feel like reading needs to sort of have a PR shift, right? And let's talk more about what reading is. Reading is, yes, it's about sitting down and curling up with a good book. Yes, it's about words, and those things are important. But the children of now, they want to know how they can maneuver life right now, right? So what if we start to talk about reading just as what it is? It's a tool for you to create the life that you want, the life that you're envisioning for yourself, right? It is a tool of access. And really making it just as important as, having some dollars in your pocket or, going to school, getting a trade, whatever the case may be. So almost a sort of a PR campaign for what reading affords us to do. In terms of the stigma, there are, again, I cannot shout out our school partners enough. I think schools are really doing some incredible work to really elevate the purpose of reading, the love of reading. You can walk into school buildings in the city and see students having books down the hallway, walking as they transition to class. I celebrate our school leaders, our teachers for implementing things like that, right? It's just making it so that kids understand that not only is it cool to read, but it's a necessary tool for access. And then lastly, for young people who are struggling and who recognize that, you know what, I just don't have everything that I need, encouraging them and reminding them that you, Callee, and I love what you said around telling parents who you are as you are today is enough. You are enough and you'll get there. Reading is indeed developmental. And I say this, and it's so funny because I'm saying this in a public forum. I probably didn't really learn how to comprehend what I was reading until college, right? And so that's hard, right? As somebody like myself, to sit in a room, but that was the truth. And I had to keep working at it. And I had to just keep believing that one day it'll all click if I just keep pressing forward. Let's just encourage our children, keep pushing forward. You'll get there.
Well, I know that we are over time, and I really wanted you all to come back and have this conversation. I think we could probably go on for about another at least hour. But as folks begin to plan for this holiday, when we really shouldn't be spending because we're looking at some economic issues that might impact us all, there's one thing we can invest in as a gift for other people. And anybody can tell me what that is?
A book.
A book.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Oh, everybody's got their books. Yeah, wonderful.
I didn't have my book. That's okay. All the books on the screen.
Travel with the book. Travel with the book.
Travel with the book. I love it. I love it. So that was my message. But does anybody else have a closing message? I like that one, Sherri. Travel with a book. Anything else? I know, Shakura, you want to say, come call us. Let's volunteer. We need some reading partners.
Please, reading partners, volunteer. And the last thing I'll say, we're going to push past this moment. Our kids are going to do well. Join in, be on the right side of this story. Be able to tell your children, your grandchildren, people in your community, I helped to solve this problem. So join us.
Brittany?
I would like to say that I think it's really important if we want to build strong readers, then we need to build students who are curious about words and curious about language. My book is designed to get people to become what I call a word connoisseur. And that's, an expert in language. And I believe that the best way to foster word consciousness and a love of words and a love of language and literacy overall is for us to have that love as a word connoisseur. So I'm going to encourage everyone to check out Etymology Rules. It's available on Amazon. And I agree, sit, read with children, talk about books, and make words and language and literacy fun.
Callee, I'm going to give you the last word.
Sure. I'll just end it with if we want to build healthy brains and healthy bodies, we do that from starting with books and language in the very earliest days of life. So snuggle up with a little one around you and spend some time together with a story.
So I know we're all ladies around this screen. I'm going to bring on some guys, I think, the next time. We're going to do some men read too conversations and just kind of bring families on. So if you also have some recommendations, please let Shevry know. Or if anybody's out there in the viewing audience, you're part of a book club, you're reading to kids, you're a volunteer with reading partners. We want to hear from you, men. So, because we know you're out there. So that's that. We're going to close with that. I want to thank you all so much for being with us. Thank you for what you do. You're soldiers, trying to make sure that our kids are being the best that they can be. So I appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.